What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the Chatting with Cheeze podcast. I'm your host, Fat Cheeze, and y'all already know the motto: no gimmicks, only the real. And this is episode 62. I'm not going to do that much talking on this episode. Y'all know what I come to do each and every week, man. Drop some knowledge on y'all. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me each and every week. Make sure when the content drop that y'all like and share, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are officially at 300 subscribers. I think we at 301 to be exact. So I appreciate all y'all. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we going off top. Y'all know I had to start the show off with this. We're going to talk about the most anticipated football game of this weekend, and that is Micah Parsons' return to Dallas after being traded the week before the season. He is now a Green Bay Packer, and he made his return to AT&T Stadium, a.k.a. Jerry World, this past weekend. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott both said winning was the only thing that mattered in the Green Bay pass rushers' hype return to Dallas to face the Cowboys and their franchise quarterback. Turns out neither star got what they wanted Sunday night. Brandon Aubrey and Brandon McManus traded short field goals in overtime, and Parsons' only sack played a role in keeping Dallas out of the end zone in the extra point period of a 40-40 tie. Prescott and Jordan Love had 3 touchdown passes apiece in regulation, which included 7 consecutive lead-changing touchdowns before McManus tying 53-yard field goal as time expired. McManus kicked a 34-yarder as the clock hit 0 in overtime after Love's pass into the back of the end zone fell incomplete with just a second remaining. It's hard to kind of wrap my head around it because I know I feel a hell of a lot worse if it was a loss, Prescott said. But I'm not satisfied. Not that I would be if we won. What started as a hype return of one of the game's elite edge pass rushers exactly a month after the Cowboys traded Parsons to the Packers ended up as a second dramatic duel of quarterbacks in 2 home games for Dallas. The second highest scoring tie in pro football history behind the Raiders' 43-43 draw with the Boston Patriots in the AFL in 1964 was the first for Dallas since 1969. The Packers last tied in 2018. It was the 5th tie with both teams scoring in OT going back to 2013 after the rules changed to where a field goal on the first possession of overtime didn't end the game. All 5 such ties have been matching field goals. Doesn't feel good. Feels kind of weird, Jordan Love said. Feels weird to go through a full game and end in a tie. So first, I'm going to start out with Micah Parsons' performance. You kind of knew that emotions were going to be riding high. Micah came out the tunnel. He seemed focused, didn't really get into too much of a pregame warm-up. I feel like Dallas did a good job. I feel like Dallas didn't allow Micah Parsons to wreck the game. I think that play that he made in overtime was honestly the play of the game. Because if Micah Parsons doesn't make that play, Dak Prescott walks in for a touchdown. Now, me being a Cowboy fan, I wish Dak would have took off a little sooner, but that was a hell of a play by Micah Parsons. But for the most part, other than that play, Micah Parsons, he created pressure. He did what Micah Parsons does. Created pressure, made Dak play basically the perfect game, get the ball out early, don't allow, Micah Parsons to, just take over the game. Micah Parsons ended with 2 assisted tackles, 3 combined, 1 solo tackle, and a sack. I don't see that as being a sack because I felt like Dak was running out of the pocket. I think the stop was huge on his end, but would I consider that a sack? No, but they credited him for 1. So that's on Micah Parsons' thing. Like I said, we know emotions was running high. He could say that it didn't really matter to him or whatever the case may be. Everybody know once Micah Parsons was traded to Green Bay that this game was circled. Now, moving on from Micah Parsons, I'm going to talk about my guy. And I know my guy get a lot of flack. Dak Prescott played out of his mind on Sunday night. Right now, and people could jump in the comment section. I know the popular thing is to hate on Dak Prescott and give him a lot of flack. And for some odd reason, Dak Prescott is held to a much higher standard than other elite quarterbacks in the league. But right now, and I'm saying this, right now, 4 weeks into the season, Dak Prescott is playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. And people could argue and say what they want. If you want to make an argument for Josh Allen, I understand. If you want to make an argument saying that Jared Goff is playing well, I understand. If you want to make an argument for Baker Mayfield, if you want a lot of quarterbacks you can make an argument for. But if you a true football fan, take your bias out of it. Dak Prescott is playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. What he did on Sunday night, I don't think you could ask your quarterback to do much more than what Dak Prescott did, especially with what he has to deal with. Dak Prescott has to go out there every single time he touches the football field. That offense has to come away with points. They either have to get in field goal range for Brandon Aubrey or they have to score 7. Dak Prescott did everything he could do on Sunday night for the Cowboys to win that football game. Now, coming into this game, people will argue that Green Bay had the best defense in football. They shut down Detroit's offense week 1. They turned around and shut down the Washington Commanders offense on Thursday night in week 2. Even though they lost in week 3 to Cleveland, they held Cleveland to 10 points. I think Cleveland only scored 13. They held Cleveland to 10 points for majority of the game. And for Dak Prescott to turn around in week 4 and put up 40 points on this elite defense. People was calling this a Super Bowl defense before Sunday night. For Dak Prescott to go out there and do what he did, there's no, if you don't give him credit for that, it's just pure hate. Dak Prescott went out there and went 31 of 40, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and had a 124.9 passer rate on a defense that has basically been locked down for the first 3 weeks leading into week 4. With an elite pass rusher on one side, with another great pass rusher, with another good pass rusher on the other side. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing more that you could. Dak Prescott did everything he could do for the Cowboys to win that game. Our defense is atrocious. 32nd ranked defense in the league. And Dak Prescott currently right now is leading the league in passing yards. Right now, and I'm not afraid to say it, I'm not going to Dak Prescott right now is playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. Simple as that. And I don't think there's any more that you could ask for from him. Now, that throw that he made to Jalen Tolbert in overtime with Micah bearing down on him and somehow him able to get the ball out, throw the bomb, it was a dot. Now, did Jalen Tolbert help by coming back and getting the ball? Absolutely. But for Dak to even be able to get the ball down there, come on now. Now, I wish that they would have cashed. And like I said, I wish he was able to get out of the pocket a little earlier, because he's going to walk in for a touchdown. And I think that could have been the game-winning touchdown. But Dak Prescott has been playing out of his mind since the beginning of the season. And like I said, anybody who goes against that or tries to argue that, then I don't have a conversation for you, because I know where your logic is coming from. Let's move on from Dak Prescott. Also, my boy GP3. Hey, George Pickens arrived in Dallas Sunday night. George Pickens had a hell of a game. And also, not to mention with Dak Prescott, doing it without your number 1 receiver. CeeDee Lamb didn't play. So you went out there, put up 40 points, no turnovers, with your number 1 receiver not playing. Come on, bro. But George Pickens played amazing. The question was, without CeeDee, could George Pickens be able to carry that wide receiver 1 load? And he did it without a problem. That big catch he had down the sideline with basically 2 defenders on him on the sideline, able to get his toes in, that's a hell of a catch. We've watched George Pickens be able to make plays like that since he came into the league. That was a hell of a play. Got on the board twice, 134 yards. George Pickens stepped up tremendously. He stepped up tremendously. George Pickens is due for a payday. And I like what Jerry Jones said earlier. I hope Jerry Jones is not just blowing smoke. George Pickens played phenomenal. So I couldn't talk about Dak Prescott without, talking about George Pickens' contribution. Also, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin out there making plays. Javonte Williams has been solid since the season has begun. So, hey man, the offense did what they were supposed to do. Not also to mention the Cowboys are banged up on the offensive line as well. Cooper Beebe out. Tyler Booker out. You know what I'm saying? Guyton had a concussion situation during the game. So again, all that's just lead me up to say Dak Prescott is playing out of his mind. And in my opinion, Dak Prescott has, up to week 4, Dak Prescott has played like the best quarterback in the NFL. Moving on to the other side, Jordan Love also had a great game. I'm not going to discount Jordan Love. Jordan Love played out of his mind. Jordan Love went 31 for 43, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interception. He had a passer rating of 118.1. Josh Jacobs was slow getting it going at the beginning, but in that second half, he started to, make his presence felt. 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Romeo Doubs in the red zone. Jordan Love was looking for him. He had 58 yards with 3 touchdowns. Now, I'm not trying to poo-poo on Jordan Love. Jordan Love played a hell of a game. Now, we know the Dallas defense is atrocious. On the first drive, you literally had 2 wide receivers wide open, you know what I'm saying, running down the field together. But Jordan Love played out of his mind. He did what he was supposed to do. You could say that Jordan Love did everything in his power for his team to win that ball game. So I'm not going to praise Dak Prescott and not praise Jordan Love. Jordan Love played a hell of a game. Jordan Love played a hell of a game. And Jordan Love has been playing good all year. They had the hiccup against Cleveland where they didn't look too good, but they're missing some pieces too on the offensive side of the ball. But I mean, if you kind of look these last 2 weeks, you've kind of started to see a dip in Green Bay. So that's something to monitor. But for the most part, I think the Cowboys came out there with a game plan. We're going to get the ball out of Dak's hands early. We're going to make these corners actually cover. And, Dallas did a great job. But like I said, Micah did what Micah did. He was disruptive, constantly getting in the backfield, making his presence felt. And that play that Micah made in overtime actually saved Green Bay from getting a loss. Because I believe if Dak Prescott walks in that end zone and scores, I think that the Dallas Cowboys come away with the victory. But it ended in a tie. And this is for the NFL. Come on, man. It's a $1 billion company. There's no way a game of that magnitude and with them going back and forth, 7 lead changes, there's no way that game should end in a tie, NFL. Going into this offseason, there should be no more ties in the NFL, bro. And I understand it's been going on, but come on, man. You got to let them duel it out. That type of game should not have that type of ending. That game should not have that type of ending. Teams should be able to shoot it out until you come away with a winner. But that game should not end in a tie. It's like you going in, and I can't even explain it. I don't even want to get into explain it, but come on, bro. It's like you watching a great movie, and then right at the end, it just cut off, movie over. You don't get to see no ending, no nothing. Come on, NFL. College overtime is better than y'all's. College, let them peoples duel it out until somebody win. NFL, do better, man. No, a game like that should not end in a tie. And just not that game. I don't think an NFL game where fans are paying hundreds of dollars for tickets, I don't think no NFL game should end in a tie. Let them duel it out until somebody comes away victorious, man. But that's my thought on that game. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all thought. And, could this possibly be game of the year? Kind of early to dictate that. But y'all drop in the comments and let me know what y'all think, man. Moving on. So the game before Sunday night that everybody was tuned into, Baltimore Ravens on the road, going to Arrowhead Stadium to play the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs came out victorious in that game, 37-20. But my topic and my question is, what's the biggest issue with the Baltimore Ravens? They have now dropped to 1-3. They have a lot of injuries. So the question is, what's the biggest issue with the Baltimore Ravens? So the Baltimore Ravens find themselves in unfamiliar, worrying territory. After Sunday's 37-20 blowout loss to the Chiefs, the Ravens are starting the 2025 season at 1-3 for the first time since 2015. It's just the 4th time in the Lamar Jackson era that the Ravens have gone 1-3 over any 4-game span with their star quarterback in the lineup. And through 4 games, they have allowed 133 points, the most they've allowed over any 4-game span in the John Harbaugh's 18-year run as the team's coach. The Ravens let a winnable game slip through their hands in Buffalo. Slippery hands have certainly become a problem for star back Derrick Henry, who has 3 fumbles in 4 games. Baltimore has played a tough schedule, but it couldn't stop the Bills or the Lions with the game on the line. And on Sunday, facing a Chiefs team that was enduring its own mini crisis to the start of the season, the Ravens simply looked overmatched. The 37-20 final score flattered Baltimore, who needed a 71-yard touchdown run from backup halfback Justice Hill in the fourth quarter to avoid the second loss of 20 points or more in Jackson's career. Lamar Jackson did not take the field for the start of the Ravens' drive just before the end of the quarter at Arrowhead Stadium, though it wasn't immediately clear what had happened. Instead, backup Cooper Rush went out in his place. The Ravens quickly confirmed Jackson was questionable to return with a hamstring injury. He did not return and ended up watching the rest of the game from the bench. On Monday, head coach John Harbaugh told reporters that Jackson couldn't have returned to the game even if it was competitive. There was no way he was going to go back in that game, Harbaugh said. The injury precluded it. There was no way he could go back in that game. I know Lamar. If he could have gone in the game, he would have been in the game. That's how Lamar Jackson is. I can assure you that he would not have been able to go back into the game under any circumstance. Harbaugh declined on Monday to offer a prognosis for Jackson on further comment on his injury. He said that an update would come from the team later in the week. So now we know that Lamar Jackson more than likely will miss the next, I believe they said 2 to 3 ball games. So now it's out there. We know they've given an update. So these are some key injuries for the Baltimore Ravens currently. Lamar Jackson, hamstring injury. Anamde Metabuke, neck injury. He has now been ruled out for the remainder of the season. Roquan Smith, grade 2 hamstring strain, expected to miss multiple weeks. Marlon Humphreys, calf injury, expected to miss multiple weeks. Kyle Van Noy, hamstring injury. Nate Wiggins also got injured in that game with the elbow injury. So for me, the biggest issue with the Baltimore Ravens, I believe it's on the defensive side of the ball. I believe that Baltimore is just going out there and teams are going up and down the field on them. This is not a Baltimore Ravens defense that we're used to seeing. I think that, yes, they have a lot of key injuries, but they just can't stop anybody. I mean, guys are getting beat. The Chiefs look like the old Chiefs versus Baltimore this week, and I don't know if Xavier Worthy being back played a huge factor in that, but the Ravens just don't look good on defense. They also are turning the ball over at a high rate on the offensive side. Like I said in these notes, Derrick Henry has 3 fumbles in the first 4 games. You know what I'm saying? That's uncommon for Derrick Henry. We watched Lamar Jackson turn the ball over on Sunday. He had a fumble. Somebody said he had an interception. I don't know if I was watching Red Zone, so I don't know if I caught the interception, but he turned the ball over twice. We know that has been a problem for them this year. They was up big against Buffalo in week 1. Derrick Henry had a fumble, and they let that game slip away. And Derrick Henry also had a costly fumble against Detroit. They allowed that game to slip away. I think the defense and turnovers are the 2 biggest problems for them right now. And just look at this. Against Buffalo, they gave up 41 points. Against Detroit, they gave up 38 points. Against the Chiefs, they just gave up 37 points. Defensive rankings through 4 games. Overall, 30th. Run defense, 30th. Pass defense, 31st. Zach, you got to figure something out, bro. This does not look like a Baltimore Ravens defense. And I understand that injuries do play a major factor. Absolutely. They play a major factor. But at the same time, injuries are a part of the game. This is what comes with it. So they got to figure something out. But I believe the 2 biggest issues for Baltimore right now is on the defensive side of the ball and also the turnovers on the offensive side. Now, I'm going to look in the camera and say this. And earlier, I don't know, whoever locked in with me, y'all pay attention to my episodes, right? Before the season started, I named, I believe it was 3 coaches who I believe going into the season was going to be on the hot seat. It was Brian Daboll for the New York Giants, Zach Taylor for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I believe my last one was Mike Tomlin. Now, if y'all remember in that episode, I said I was juggling between Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh and I'm going to look in this camera when I say this. If the Baltimore Ravens miss the playoffs or somehow manage to flip this season around and go out early, John Harbaugh might be on the hot seat to lose his job. And I'm seeing fans start right now calling for his job. I understand the success that he's had with this team, and I understand the Super Bowl. I get all of that. But eventually, there comes a time where your voice may be getting stale or those formulas and things ain't working no more. This roster on paper coming into the season, I said to me was the best roster coming into this season. Now, we know games aren't won on paper. But if you just looked at everything that they had, bringing in Alexander after he was released from the Packers, Humphreys, Metabike, Roquan Smith, Van Noy. On the offensive side, adding DeAndre Hopkins, having arguably the best tight end duo in football, Derrick Henry, All-Pro, Lamar Jackson, multiple-time MVP at the quarterback position, solid offensive line. This was my pick to come out of the AFC. If this team continues, which I'm not going to lie, with all these injuries and Lamar Jackson possibly missing the next 2 to 3 games, if Lamar Jackson misses those games, you might could chalk those up as L's. I ain't going to lie to you. Now, they play the Texans this week. The Texans have been looking horrible, so they make us sneak that one out with Cooper Rush. We know one thing about Cooper Rush, because he was with Dallas. When he comes in, he got that magic. So Cooper Rush might have brought some of that magic from Dallas to Baltimore, and he probably could muster them up some wins. But I'm going to be honest. Right now, that seat is in flames for John Harbaugh if this team can't find a way to turn this around and somehow and make the playoffs, let alone make an AFC championship game or a Super Bowl. Not with this roster you had coming into the season. And I know people going to say, well, injuries play a factor. I get it. But we see a lot of teams deal with injuries, though. So, hey, this is the NFL. So we can't make excuses. We know what happens in the NFL, especially when your quarterback is mobile. He runs a lot. Injuries are possible. I'm just saying. So, John Harbaugh, you got to find a way. This right here is where coaching plays a factor. You got to find a way to light a fire under this team and get this thing turned around. It's early. Things can still happen. I don't believe that division is unwinnable still. Pittsburgh, just won this past week, beat Minnesota, but I don't think the division is out of reach to where Baltimore can't turn it around and somehow come back and salvage this season. But right now, it's not looking good. And John Harbaugh, you might have to be the fall guy, bro. And Zach Orr, and also the offensive coordinator. I can't think of his name right now. Matter of fact, real quick, I'm gonna look his name up because I want to make sure I get this right. The offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, real quick, because somebody said that too, that they don't believe the offense. But I mean, the offense is putting up points. So I don't really know how much you could really blame on the offense because the offense is putting up the numbers. But hey, listen, Todd Monken. Because I'm from now on, I'm gonna just start looking up the names because I be tired of getting names wrong and then I go back and look at the episode and then I got the name. So Todd Monken. But hey, Todd Monken, Zach Orr, y'all may be on the hot seat, brothers. Both of y'all. And John Harbaugh, your seat may be the hottest of all. But I'm not going to jump out there too early. Like I said, things can get turned around. The season is early, but these injuries are eyesore right now, especially with Lamar Jackson going down. We got to see how this thing going to turn out. But if I had to say right now what I believe the biggest issue for the Baltimore Ravens, I would say the defensive side of the ball. They clearly can't stop anybody. And I think the turnovers on offense. Also, Derrick Henry, you're going to have to snap out of this and stop turning that football over, man, because this offense is going to need you more than ever right now with Cooper Rush, coming in for Lamar Jackson. They're going to need to be able to set a tone on the run, in the run, so that way, teams can load and give Cooper Rush a chance to get the ball downfield. Also, Mark Andrews is going to have to step up. All you guys are going to have to step up with Lamar out. Lamar Jackson being out takes away a big chunk of that offense. A huge chunk of that offense, honestly. So I can't wait to see what happens, man. But we gonna see. I know my Baltimore Ravens fans, they pretty frustrated right now, so I can't wait to see how things go on. Moving on, another topic from Sunday. Now, we all know the Philadelphia Eagles went on the road to face their kryptonite, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Philadelphia emerged victorious, now 4-0 on the season. They were blowing Tampa Bay out for most of the game. Tampa Bay rallied in the second half, but still came up short. But the biggest storyline coming out of that game was not about the game. It was about A.J. Brown firing off a cryptic tweet. Or I don't know if it was on Instagram or whatever, a social media post. We know that this season, A.J. Brown has not been involved in the Philadelphia offense as much as he's wanted. In week 1, I said it. I felt as though I said, it may be a possibility AJ may request a trade after the season because they didn't get AJ involved, I believe, until the fourth quarter of week 1. Now, I think week 2, when they played the Rams, he was a little more involved. But other than that, AJ Brown has really been non-existent in this offense, and I think it's finally getting to him. So Philadelphia Eagles wideout A.J. Brown has not been a major factor in the team's passing game in 3 of the first 4 games to start the season, highlighted by his 2 receptions for 7 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It appears that Brown's patience with his role in the offense is wearing thin, at least based on a social media post he fired up after Sunday's win, sharing an image that read, "If you're not welcome, not listened to, quietly withdraw, don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way." Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer later reported the post was pointed at someone or someone's internally with the Eagles, citing 2 sources close to the receiver. Brown also declined interview requests with reporters after the game. Through 4 games, Brown has 12 receptions on 28 targets for 151 yards and a touchdown. He was targeted 9 times on Sunday, though Jalen Hurts struggled to connect with his star wideout. The passing game was incredibly ineffective in the second half in general, failing to register a completion. Brown is seemingly a bit fed up with the situation. Eagles, however, have started the season 4-0, getting their top wideout more involved should absolutely be a goal, though the Birds keep finding ways to win regardless. So this situation, we know that it was rumors last year that, AJ and Jalen Hurts weren't really getting along. You had the situation on the bench with the book and everything like that. And in this situation, I'm actually kind of torn because, I see it from AJ's point of view. And also, you got the fans out there that's going to say, bro, stop being a diva. Stop crying. We're winning. But you got to look at it from AJ's point of view, bro. When you go through these off-season workouts and things of that nature and you're a top guy in the league, and also, let's be honest, we know these guys look at other receiver stats in the league. You seeing Justin Jefferson, you seeing Jamar Chase, you're seeing CeeDee Lamb, you're seeing Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're seeing Puka Nacua, and you're supposed to be one of those top echelon guys. It's easy to get frustrated, but we also know it's hard to get those targets when sometimes you got to sacrifice. You got A.J. Brown probably feeling in his mind, I got paid to come over there and be a difference maker, I'm a difference maker. I can be a difference maker if you get me involved. But at the same time, you also playing with the best running back in football. You also playing with Devontae Smith. You also playing with Dallas Goedert. And you're also playing with a quarterback that we've seen, the proof is in the pudding, has more success when the offense is run first. A.J. Brown is a focal point. When defenses are planning to guard the Philadelphia Eagles, it's take away Saquon as best as we can and take away A.J. So A.J. is seeing a lot of probably double teams, a lot of, certain coverages. And let's be honest with you, that falls on the offensive coordinator because you got to open up that route tree. But A.J. Brown is seeing different coverages, whereas those Smitty and Goddard and these guys, they're seeing one-on-one coverages, so it's easy for them to get the ball. But it don't look like Smitty getting involved either. And Philly is somehow finding a way to win these games. So I kind of look at it from both sides. I mean, yeah, it's good to win. Yes, of course he wants to win, but let's be realistic. He got his ring already. So right now for him, it's about being able to contribute to the offense, get my numbers, and and we still win. It's cool. That's like if you playing pickup basketball and y'all going around. It's cool to win. It's cool to win, but I want to score points. I want to get in the end zone. I want to score buckets. If I don't want to just run up and down the field and get cardio and play defense. No, I want to be able to put the ball in the basket too. AJ Brown feels the same way. I don't want to just be out there. Yeah, I'm not getting paid to just go out there and block and, run the same 2 or 3 routes and not get the ball. Man, I done went through OTAs, mini camp, training camp. I ain't trying to do that. And I'm supposed to be one of the top guys in the league. So I understand. I mean, I understand his frustration. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult. And I mean, you really can't be too mad at him. And people will say, "Oh, you're a diva." Well, y'all winning games, and Philly is still finding a way to win. That right there just shows you how good and complete of a football team this is. But I mean, like, sometimes you gotta understand their frustration. And I believe that tweet was aimed at Kevin Patullo. I mean, at the end of the day, the offense is geared around what your quarterback's strengths and weaknesses. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We see that Jalen Hurts performs better when the offense is run first. Do I believe Jalen Hurts is capable of throwing the football and making plays with his arm? Absolutely. But Philadelphia's goal first is establish the run. And then we're going to eat off the pass. I mean, so that's just what it is. I mean, I'm not going to jump the gun right now and say that AJ requests a trade. Now, is that a possibility? Absolutely. May he wait to the end of the season? Sometimes, you may just got to go out there and, get them going early. Sometimes that's all it takes. We may talk about this, and AJ Brown may come out next week and go for $120 and 2 touchdowns or a touch, and everything will be just over. So sometimes, we kind of jump to these conclusions. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. All we can go off is the social media posts and, what we've seen, that he hasn't been that involved. And we just got to move forward and see what happens. Now, I think that they'll find a way to try to implement them more on the offense. Sometimes, you got to take this approach to, get what you want or get the targets or, get the ball thrown your way. So maybe this is just a way for AJ Brown to let them know, hey, remember, I understand we got Saquon, I understand we got these other guys, but you got a big dog out here on the outside too that can make plays for you. That's a top echelon receiver in this league. So that's how I feel about it. We just gotta wait and see what happens, but we thought it last year. Last year he was upset. They found a way to, get him involved and make things happen, and they end up winning the Super Bowl. And right now they're 4-0. They look like the best team in football. So we just gotta wait and see what's going on, man. So that's my thoughts on that whole situation. I'm not going to jump into it too early because you never know. Like I said, AJ Brown may come out and go off next week, and then this whole story will be for nothing. So that's it, man. And before we get out of here, I did it again, y'all. I did not, by mistake, put down my picks for this week. So we going off the dome again. So let's go. And I ain't going to take too long with this one. Last week I was kind of winded, long-winded. We going to go ahead and just get right through this week 5. So we going to start out with the 49er. Hold on. Oh, yeah, this Thursday. Okay, I'm tripping. So we going to start out with, I'm tripping that yesterday was Monday. I seen both of them games. And okay, we're going to start out with the 49ers and Rams on Thursday night football. I am going to go with the Los Angeles Rams. They had a big win this past weekend against the hot Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the LA Rams in that one. Moving on, we have the Minnesota Vikings versus the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to go Minnesota in that game. I think they have a bounce back after they lose to Pittsburgh this past week. Cleveland is just not a really good football team, so I'm going to go with the Vikings in that one. Moving on, we got my Cowboys versus the New York Jets. I'm going to go the Cowboys in this game, but I think this game is going to be a lot tougher than what people think. Because one thing I know about the Cowboys, they do not, for some reason against the Jets, they always don't play that good, and this is a 1 o'clock game. They never look that good in 1 o'clock games. So if I was a betting man, I would say take the spread in that one. But I got the Cowboys winning that game. Moving on, you got the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints, I'm going to take the Giants in this game. The Saints are fighting for the #1 pick. They're trash. I'm sorry to say, but it just is what it is. And also, I want to say get well soon to Malik Neighbors. He tore his ACL this past week. And, it's unfortunate for one of the young rising stars at the wide receiver position. Get well soon, man. I can't wait to see you back. Moving on, you got the Los Angeles Raiders playing the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the Colts in this one. The Colts could easily be 4-0. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like the Colts should have won that game against the Rams this Sunday. If Mitchell didn't fumble the ball through the back of the end zone trying to celebrate early, I think the Colts should have won that game. So I think the Colts have a bounce back this week, and they beat the Raiders. You have the Dolphins versus the Panthers. I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this one. That's two trash teams, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins in that one. Next, you got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Denver Broncos. The Broncos look good on this yesterday, but you got to remember they was playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who also are a dumpster fire. That one right there is going to be, I think that one right there can get pretty unchy. I think it's in Philly. Yeah, it's in Philly. I'm going to go with the Eagles in that one. I think the Eagles win that one. I think A.J. Brown has a breakout game in this one, and I believe that Philly goes to 5-0. Moving on, you have the Texans versus the Baltimore Ravens. We just talked about the Ravens, but I don't think the Texans are a good football team at all. C.J. Stroud looks out of it. The offensive line is terrible. I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one, but I do think it's going to be a close ball game. I think Derrick Henry gets his face back. I think Cooper Rush goes out there and plays a solid game. I'm not going to say he goes out there and looks spectacular, but I think he goes out there and plays solid enough for the Ravens to win that one. Moving on, you have the Tennessee Titans versus the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals in that one. Neither team is really that good, but I just think Tennessee is not a good football team at all. They're still building. They got to find a way to build around Cam Ward. Tennessee was supposed to be my sleeper team this year, and I missed tremendously on that one. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Moving on, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road going against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in that one. I think the Buccaneers get their face back. They looked terrible in the first half against Philly and got it together got it together in the second half. I want to see the status of Mike Evans, but Mecca Ibuka and Baker Mayfield has had a great connection, and they helping my fantasy. 2 wins in a row. Just saying. Yeah, so I think the Buccaneers go on the road and win that game, but I think that's going to be a very good game because Seattle is not no slouch, especially having to play in Seattle. Moving on, you got the Detroit Lions going on the road to play the Cincinnati Bengals. The Detroit Lions will win that game comfortably. The Cincinnati Bengals are a dumpster fire. I believe that Zach Taylor will be out of there after this year. And I said this to somebody, but I believe if Cincinnati does not try to upgrade that offensive line or upgrade that team this offseason for the betterment of their quarterback, I believe Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase should both request trades out of there because at this point it's ridiculous. And I don't want to see those two waste their talents in Cincinnati if they don't decide to get that together. But I think that Detroit wins that game comfortably. Moving on, you have the Washington Commanders on the road facing the Los Angeles Chargers. This one right here, I think, is going to be a very close game. Jaden Daniels should be back. I don't know the status of Terry McLaurin, but I'm going to go to Chargers in this one. And I think the Chargers will get their face back this week after losing the game. A lot of people thought that they shouldn't have lost to the New York Giants. So I think they get their face back in this one. But I do think that's going to be a very close game. I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers. You have the Patriots on Sunday night on the road going to play the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills win that game. The Buffalo Bills they've been good. They haven't really been outstanding, but they've been good this season. That game could be closer than a lot of people think. But I'm gonna go with Buffalo on that one. And to finish off the week, you have a Monday night game, the Kansas City Chiefs on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hey, listen, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a hell of a win against the 49ers this past week. Despite what you want to think about the 49ers, that was a big win for the Jaguars. To be able to go on the road and win that game, that's huge. But I'm going to go with Kansas City in this one. I think getting Xavier Worthy back this week, you seen the offense look back to themselves. They look like the old Kansas City this past week. I think that momentum carries on, and I think they win on Monday night. But I think that game could be close. For the love of God, Jaguars, can you please get Brian Thomas Jr. involved for my fantasy team? I need him. So please get him involved this week. Even if y'all lose, get Brian Thomas Jr. involved, man. But hey, so those are my picks for this week, man. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Y'all know I appreciate y'all for tuning in each and every week. Please like and share the content when it drops. Also, smash that subscribe button. We are now on the road to 400 subscribers, man. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me each and every week. I'm sitting behind this desk about to pass out. I'm starving. I didn't dare have this episode dizzy, so I'm about to go get me something to eat. Hey, man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me. Y'all know what it is, man. Y'all know where to find me each and every week, man. Behind the desk, doing my thing, dropping that knowledge. I see y'all next time.